Hey everyone! Before we open today's file, please make sure to follow us on Instagram at d.s.radio, where you can find all the images that go along with today's case. You can drop us an email at contact.dsradio@gmail.com. You can find all of our socials in the Linktree bio on our Instagram profile, including links to merch. If you're feeling especially generous, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dystopian simulation radio, where you can get access to our exclusive Instagram page and make suggestions for upcoming episode topics that you would like us to cover. Speaking of Patreon, thanks to our Patreons, Riff Cult, Cropley Crab, Cash Broadus, Raspberry Jr., Jason R. Nelson, Creepy Paper, Jamie Sook, Michael Laughlin, Lindsay Keller, Mike Wright, Greer Weaver, Kelsey Carruthers, Linz Gibbon, Drake Holvig, Only Child, Michael M, Wesley Akers, Riaz K, Emily Medeiros, Pip, Heather Wynn, Graves, Devon Sweatshirt, The Ordained Sinister Minister, and Philip Hoffman.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dystopian Simulation Radio. I am your first host, Chris.
And I'm Linz.
Linz, how's it going?
Pretty good. Just got over some kind of plague that I think I got from a medieval market, Chris. So,
Want to expand on that at all? Just want to leave that there.
I went to a medieval market. I end up in these places. I don't know. They had jousting. They had people cosplaying as peasants. Do you say cosplaying for medieval people, or is it like LARPing? No, it's not cosplay. It's LARPing.
Live action role-playing, Linz.
Sorry. Well, people were cosplaying as peasants and things. It was pretty good. There was jousting. There was like all of these like speed run kind of courses where they were on like horseback and they were all dressed up like the medieval times, and they were going around on a horse and smashing apples with like maces and cutting them in half with swords and collecting hoops. It was kind of like Sonic, but oldie. But yeah, it was really good. But
Okay.
afterwards, I got like really ill for a solid week, and it was like really horrific. Like, it was just a week of hell, and I think it was some kind of medieval plague. Don't know, but just saying, I was ill.
I mean, I'm only really familiar with one medieval plague. So I don't think you had the big one.
I might have had the dancing plague. Who knows? But
Oh well, that's what I was talking
no,
about.
it wasn't that fun. But yeah, it was horrible. But I watched Eurovision. Did you watch Eurovision?
No, I did not.
God, I feel like I had to. I was in Sweden, and it was being held in Sweden, and people were like, "Oh, let's watch Eurovision." So we did, and actually enjoyable. I kind of want you to listen to the songs, but my winner was Croatia. They're friggin' amazing. And my runner-up was Just Klein, who got disqualified. Boo. But yeah, it's really good.
Is that a country, Just Klein?
No, he's a guy from the Netherlands.
Oh, right. Okay.
Croatia
didn't he get disqualified for knocking a woman out backstage?
He didn't do anything like that. He just kind of made a gesture, I think. And then they made a massive, I don't know. But apparently they made it sound like it. Like, from the reports I read, he was like, oh, he did something to a female member of like the media or something. And I was like, God, that sounds terrible. But I think what he actually did was he got upset because the song, although stupid, like meant something to him. And he asked not to be filmed. And I think this camera person was just like really in his face over and over again. And I think he made a gesture or something. But anyway, his song was great. And he got disqualified. Boo. And Croatia were amazing. They were called Baby Lasagna.
Okay.
And it's so good. And then like special shout out to Finland for No Rules. In the video and in the performance, a man who was naked from the waist down was birthed from a denim egg.
Did you say that was Croatia?
No, that was Finland. And
That was Finland.
yeah.
Ah.
It's so good.
Well, you've convinced me to watch next year.
Yes. But definitely watch
Do
those.
a running commentary the next year.
Yeah, watch those 3 bands on YouTube though. So it's Baby Lasagna, Croatia, and what did I say? Used Klein, Netherlands, and No Rules from Finland. So good. So Chris, how are you?
Yeah, I am pretty good. I might actually have a sneak peek at the entry for next year's Eurovision. Actually,
What?
well, all I'll say is, listen to this.
Sorry.
I mean, he's working on it. He's working on it, but he's halfway there.
Oh, he's so
I'm not sure if covers are allowed.
cute. I'm gonna cry. It's so cute. Aw.
So he started asking for that song.
You're
Because I
kidding.
sing it so much around my house, and it really winds my wife up. And now he started singing it, so now there's 2 of us, but she can't do anything.
So, like, Chris, your wife is Japanese, right? Was that song
Last time I looked.
popular in Japan?
Um,
Like, had she heard
No,
it
I don't
before
think
you
so.
were like just?
no, no, she hadn't heard it before. They're like some groups, like Avril Lavigne's bizarrely big in Japan.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, there's like some, but I mean, like this is before the like Harajuku stuff.
Yeah, but that makes
she
sense
did.
though.
Like, yeah, like she's got like a signed like postcard from Avril Lavigne
What?
from like the first album or something. Yeah,
Let Go, legendary.
yeah, yeah. There you go. So yeah, this we're now descending Blink 182, specifically anything that Tom DeLonge sings, onto the house. So Tom, I'm still waiting for you, buddy.
Yeah, one day.
Yeah, you ain't called or wrote. Anyway, just before we jump into today's episode, just want to say thank you very much to all of our Patreons. So
Thank
very
you.
quickly, thank you to Philip Hoffman. Rewind. Thank you to Philip Hoffman, Pip, Emily Vidiros, Riaz K, Wesley Akers, Michael, Only Child, Drake Halvig, Linz Gibson, Kelsey Carruthers, Greer Weather, Mike Wright, Lindsay Keller, Michael Laughlin, Jamie Sook, Creepy Paper, Jason R. Nelson, Cash Brodus, Cropley Crab, Riff Cult, Heather Wynn, Graves, Devon Sweatshirt, Ordained Sinister Minister, and not forgetting you, Polk Daddy.
Wait, who?
Polk Daddy.
Polk Daddy. All right.
I've got no other inside info on that.
A new guy.
Except that it does,
I like
does
it.
make me think of Buff Bagwell's theme song. Anyway, so thank you very much, everybody, for being part of the Patreon. Whew, do we have a doozy for you in a bonus episode coming up this week? Linz has absolutely no idea what it is, but let's just say I have been given powers that I should never have been able to command.
What? Oh my god. I have no clue what this could be. I'm actually really excited.
Well, tune into Patreon this week if you're one of the paying members for Bob's Balls. You'll be able to get access to the episode and all the back episodes as well, the bonus content, more and more stuff's in the pipeline, and it's all coming your way if you join us on the Patreon on patreon.com/dystopian simulation radio. Don't forget, you do get access to our Instagram account, which is at DSR Friend Club, which reminds me, Linz, we need to post on that a bit more.
Yeah, I know. The Patreon chats are just keeping me entertained.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing you do. You do get the Patreon chats. Meme Base Alpha has launched this week. And but you don't have to give us a single penny just to enjoy this. It's all free. And remember, you can go to our normal Instagram page, which is at d.s.radio, and that is where you'll be able to find all of the images that go along with this and our previous episodes as well.
All right.
So, Linz, are you ready? Are you ready to dive in?
Oh God, I'm so ready.
Well, Linz, unusually, you kind of know what this is about.
Yes.
This week, because usually it's a complete surprise
Mm-hmm.
the way that we do this. You know, when Linz is reading it, I have no idea what the topic's going to be, and vice versa. But Linz did actually request one of me this week, which was she texted me after the last episode asking for me to cover the Mothman.
Yes, I know nothing. Well, I know very little of the Mothman, and I just wanted you to tell me about it, Chris.
Well, it does appear that we are drawn to this topic like a moth to a flame. One of the larger topics that we haven't yet covered on this podcast. Linz, first off, where do you think the Mothman was first spotted? Ballpark. Where do you think?
Virginia.
Oh,
Is that right?
you are so close.
Damn it.
A little bit to the west.
Where is it? Oh, wait. Oh, God, it's in there somewhere because I've just seen it around. Oh, I don't know. Tell me. God, I feel like a serial killer has phone called me and he's holding someone I love hostage.
It is West Virginia.
Oh, shit. Okay, was there somewhere? Kind of.
Well, a few facts for you here. The state, as mentioned, is just west of Virginia. And there's a famous song written about it, Baby Got Back.
You're so stupid.
Also, lesser known is Country Roads by John Denver. I tried to find a famous person to wow you with, but I couldn't find any.
That's because the famous person is Mothman, Chris.
That is true. The Confederate General Stonewall Jackson is from there, and also Steve Harvey.
My friend
they were the best that I could
has a
come up
dog named after him, Stonewall Jackson. For some reason, I think his dad named it.
Interesting.
Yes. I won't say who, but they'll know.
West Virginia's nickname is the Mountain State, and the state bird is a giant moth.
Is it what?
Sorry, no, it's not. It is the cardinal bird.
Ah,
it is
okay.
It is the origin of the golden delicious apple.
Ooh.
And it's also where the first sighting of the Mothman occurred one fateful day in November 1966.
Hold up. The apple thing was pretty impressive. You don't need a famous person when you've got the apple.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean, who doesn't bite down on a golden delicious every day?
Exactly.
Green or red apples? Which do you prefer?
Green, more sour.
Green.
Mm-hmm. You?
I used to be a green boy. I've transferred to red.
Good to know.
Anyway, back to our story. 3 grave diggers were hard at work in a West Virginian cemetery when one of them noticed something in the trees. A huge brown figure moving at great speed, making its way from tree to tree. The men later described it as a brown human being-like creature.
Okay.
But they did not get a good look at it, so it could have been a giant poop.
Could have.
Due to this incident's proximity to the more famous first spotting that we're going to go on to in a few moments' time, it is cited as the first real encounter that humans had with Mothman, or the first one that was reported at least. It could also have been a very big squirrel for the amount of time that they got a look at the creature. However, 3 days later, 2 couples would get much more up close and personal with our giant lamp-loving cryptid.
Okay, can we talk about that on this podcast? Sounds a bit
I mean,
romantic.
we can do. I mean, Mothman's into pineapples, if you know what I mean.
And he is sexualized quite a lot on the merchandise, I've noticed.
Is he? Oh, they're all sexualized.
No,
Oh,
I mean, like,
no, we're not going down this path
he
again.
has like an ass of steel, he's got abs, like, yeah, there's like a whole thing behind it.
I mean, whatever floats your boat.
It's not me, it's just how it is, Chris.
Sure. You've got to graduate from dolphin erotica sometime.
Yeah, as if you didn't come up with that.
Now, the two couples, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Mallet, no relation to Timmy, were out having a jolly good time in the TNT area. Now, while that sounds like either an apocalyptic district post-dystopia or maybe Ted Turner's own personal slice of land, it is actually the site of a former munitions plant used during World War II. The site has since been turned into now a wildlife reserve, which is officially known as the Clinton F. McClintic, try saying that when you've had a few too many drinks, Wildlife Management Area, and is home to deer, raccoons, mink, and undetonated explosives.
Beautiful.
Beautiful, really. It's also home to this guy, who's not officially a cryptid, but please describe.
That would be a beaver, Chris.
He is, but look at him.
He's lovely. He's got quite
sitting on his tail.
Yeah.
He's using his tail as a seat.
It's kind of like he's on a bodyboard. It's like an older British man on a bodyboard. Oh, cute.
Now, the young couples, and I should point out that they were all so young that they were still in high school, despite being married.
Oh, back in the days. When was this? Sorry, 60...
1966.
66. Or, yeah, makes sense. Adds up.
Yeah. I mean, they're all 18, 19. So, it's not like super levels of weird. But when I read that, I was like, huh?
Yeah, if you think about when we were 19.
Yeah.
These people were married and we were having like Sonic the Hedgehog birthday cakes.
I mean, I've got a birthday coming up very soon, and I might have a Sonic the Hedgehog birthday cake.
Yes.
But anyway, moving onwards. Oh, maybe the Dr. Robotnik one, if I've been a good boy. Anyway, let's see. So they were out in the beauty spot of the TNT area, driving a black 1957 Chevy, which was owned by Roger Scarberry. Now, as they were driving past the abandoned North Power Plant, Steve pointed out some strange red glows in the distance to the group. They looked closer and noticed a silhouette of a grey-coloured man with glowing red eyes, which quickly disappeared behind the power plant building. They described its movement on the ground as clumsy, and it was wobbling as if it was struggling to keep its balance. It wasn't used to being on the ground. Linda later described it as a 7-foot man with wings, glowing red eyes, muscular legs, and an ass that wouldn't quit. Oh, no. Sorry, that's you, Liz. Linda could not discern any details about the face, as the red eyes apparently had a hypnotic quality to them. Shocked, the group decided to hit the gas and get out of Dodge. I assume that's how these Americans spoke, just like in the movies. The couples were freaked out and drove at speed down Route 62. They then spotted the creature again in the distance, on a hill by a large billboard observing them. As the car reached the apex of a curve, the creature spread its wings and took flight. "Faster, faster!" yelled the passengers as the Mothman grew closer to the car. The group claimed that the vehicle reached up to 100 miles an hour as it flew down the road, but this speed was no bother to the Mothman, who hovered around the rear of the vehicle, pursuing the car. They could hear the creature's screeches and the beating of its wings as it pursued them. Some stories claim that scratch marks were left on the Chevy, but no evidence has ever been shown of this. and the car itself disappeared. Later on, it was likely sold following the divorce of Linda and Roger.
No.
Spoilers.
Linda, Roger.
Sharing your bed with a Mothman was never going to turn out well, guys.
There was always going to be jealousy involved.
I mean, it is sad, but the number one cause of divorce in the United States is high-speed pursuits by giant insects.
Hold up. So this is basically like a James Dean movie. Like, this is so cool. There's like this young married couple in their Chevy driving away. This winged beast is screeching and like flying after them. Like, this is the best movie ever. Like, that is, I was imagining that when you were telling me. It's such a cool scene, but also fucking horrific if it was you.
It reminds me of an urban legend.
Yes.
And possibly this might be the origin of this particular type of urban legend. But I mean, you must have heard like the Hookman one. And stuff
Yeah, the
when you were a
lovers.
kid.
Yeah. At make out
Yeah,
point.
and there's like there's a scratching on the side of the vehicle.
Exactly.
And the lock starts going and they hit the gas and they go away. And then when they get home, they find the hook buried in the side of the car.
Yeah. Do you remember those point horror books in the UK? It was like the
Yes.
teenage version of Goosebumps. And it was all like, I don't know, were they American? They must have been.
I don't know.
If they weren't, they were
Probably.
really heavily influenced by like this kind of urban legend. And oh God, I'd love to get some of those and read them actually. As an adult, that would be great. All right. So Mothman is flying after the car. Right.
Eventually, the couples reached the outskirts of Point Pleasant, and the Mothman broke off its pursuit at the city limits and veered across a farmer's field. The couple stopped and talked about what they should do next. The girls wanted to go to the cops, and the boys were reluctant for fear of being ridiculed and wanted to go back to the site to investigate further. Linda Scarberry's original police report includes details of the couples soon finding a dead dog and Mothman dive bombing them.
No.
But the group were convinced by that to contact the authorities and decided to call by a local diner and then dial up the local law enforcement agency. Whilst waiting there, likely ordering some fries and a shake, which I think's an odd combination to mix together, but they always seem to order that in American films.
How is that odd?
They
it's
ran
like the best. Have you ever dipped a fry in a shake?
Brother.
Seriously, try it. Just once.
Next time in the
Live a
States,
little,
I'll try
Chris.
it, okay.
Live a little.
They ran across some friends at the diner and related the story to them, only to be accused of being drunk. When Deputy Millard Halstead turned up, they described what they saw. But what exactly did they see? Linz, would you kindly describe this police sketch based on Linda's testimony?
Oh God, I would love to. Oh Jesus Christ! For for a split second, it reminded me of Have you ever seen that Bugs Bunny cartoon where it's like he's like in Dracula's castle, and they have that thing with the big orange hair?
Oh, yes, exactly.
Kind of looks like that.
I know exactly what you mean.
I don't know what it's called.
It does a bit.
Okay, so to be honest, I don't know if I'm just being influenced by all of our previous Alien episodes, but kind of looks like a more human, like, all right, I'll just describe the style. It's a pencil sketch with a little bit of shading, very minimalist. So you have like the kind of silhouette of a man, the shape of a man. There's no details on it, but he's got two big black eyes, sort of like an alien grey. His posture is a little bit jaunty. It's kind of badly drawn, okay? But like it's like a man's body, and then he's got like these two really huge angel wings. I think they were trying to draw like the classic not a biblical angel, but when you think of an angel, it's like these huge wings that are kind of like bigger than the body. They're taller than the head, they're wider than the body on each wing. But yeah, that would be super imposing in real life. Like, I don't know how tall this thing is, but Yeah, it's got sort of like an alien with angel wings. And it's also got like Ninja Turtle vibes. But
An
yeah,
alien with angel
yeah.
wings. That sounds like Tom DeLonge's wet dream.
It's kind of romantic. But yeah, it's that's something. I mean, with wings that big, which you need if you are something as large as a human to fly, can you imagine how loud the beating of the wings would be and how fast this thing would go? Like,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, if
terrifying.
you've ever had a bird fly past your head, it's loud as
Yeah, a
fuck.
seagull is loud, so imagine this. Like, that would just be horrific. That would be so scary and disorientating. Yeah.
See, I'm glad that you picked up on the sort of angelic aspect
Mm.
of it, because that was the thing that struck me. In my mind, I was thinking about, well, just a big moth, really. But
It's nothing like a
this is
moth,
far
Chris.
more exactly. So why they call it the Mothman? This is more. It should be man moth. He's far more man than moth.
Yeah, yeah. It looks like a grey with wings, honestly. Like, I've never
Yeah.
seen this picture. I've only seen sort of the illustrations of Mothman, which tend to be a cute moth with like I said, a chiseled ass and chest.
Well, I mean, if you go looking, you'll find it.
Don't, Chris, I don't, just for the record, I don't go looking. It's just there, okay?
Hmm.
Oh God, this is going to start a whole new thing. Step aside, Locke. Mothman's ass is here.
So back to Deputy Halstead.
Hmm.
So he found this tall tale hard to believe, but they were good kids. They're not known troublemakers. Something had clearly happened to them up there in the TNT district. So he decided that he would take them seriously, and he asked the kids to lead him up there and he would investigate. So once they drove back out to the site, he whipped out his flashlight and found nothing, but there were strange static interferences that affected the police radio, Silent Hill style.
Ooh.
The teenagers were too scared to leave the car, but reported seeing shadows overhead and dust clouds being kicked up. Everyone returned home without incident, but the couples were petrified. Word was already getting out about this bizarre sighting, and the press were eager to find out more. The police chief held a press conference the next day, and soon the TNT area was being besieged by locals and out of towners, all eager to see the Mothman for themselves. And it all started with a Point Pleasant Register article called Couples See Man Sized Bird, Creature, Something. Linz, if you'd please read.
I'm a hard guy to scare, Scrabberry said. But last night, I was for getting out of there. They did just that, but the thing followed them. They said it was hovering over the car, apparently gliding, until they reached the National Guard Armory on Route 62. We went downtown, turned around, and went back, and there it was again, Millette said. It seemed to be waiting on us. He said the light grey creature then scurried through a field. It also had flown across the top of the car. It apparently is afraid of the light, Willette responded, and maybe it thought it was scaring us off. The young men said they saw the creature's eyes, which glowed red, only when their light shined on it, and it seemed to want to get away from the lights. They said it looked like a man with wings, but that its head was not an outstanding characteristic. Both were slightly pale and tired from lack of sleep during the night following their harrowing experience. They speculated that the thing was living in the vacant power plant, possibly in one of the huge boilers. There are pigeons in all of the other buildings, Millette said, but not in that one. If I had seen it while by myself, I wouldn't have said anything, Scarberry said. But there were 4 of us who saw it. They said it didn't resemble a bat in any way, but maybe what you would visualize as an angel.
Now, an interesting little snippet there, because he says it didn't resemble a bat in any way. And perhaps the popularity of Mothman was boosted by the recent debut of Batman, the television show, which had, just received its own TV series. And yes, that's how long ago this incident was obviously not the first time that people had seen Batman. He's been around since the 40s, but when he was first, brought to the mainstream masses was roughly that same time. So some have speculated that maybe Batman somehow played a part in at least popularizing this myth.
Okay, we see this a lot in the cases that we look at on DSR. Like, there's always like some pop culture reference of the time or something that came out at the time. Okay, so this could explain it, maybe.
Maybe it's certainly one explanation. I don't think it explains. I don't think they drove out there and somebody suddenly remembered. Hey, remember that really campy Adam West thing we just watched? Man, oh no, we're getting chased by it. It's not a Batman, it's a Mothman.
Listen, it's campy to us now, but back then it was probably like revolutionary. They were probably like, oh my God.
Campy back then. Come on, Linz. We lived through the George Clooney, Val Kilmer Batman movies. we didn't. We knew they were campy at the time. Okay, a bat card, roller skates,
manta ray spray,
Arnie. Exactly.
Fair enough.
So back to this tale of this particular moth, though. The story went national and then international, and was even featured in magazines distributed to U.S. troops in Vietnam. It made its way all around the world. But we have to ask, did anyone else see our moth? Surely everyone with a porch light would have found him buzzing around, right? Well, in the following days, there were a surge of sightings. One man saw something with glowing red eyes in a field, although it must be mentioned he was searching for his missing dog at the time, so it could have just been that. Good boy, come here. Oh shit, it's Mothman.
Imagine him on all fours running at you with his angel wings. Ah!
All right, let's not get into your fantasy.
Shut up.
2 firefighters saw a bird-like creature with glowing red eyes flying over Point Pleasant in the next few days, and there were, in fact, over 100 sightings in the Point Pleasant area alone across the next 13 months.
Wait, how many?
With over 100.
Oh, okay.
With sporadic reports of our old friends the Men in Black turning up and harassing witnesses. However, these are, of course, unverified. But if you want to find out more about the maaaaaybe, then you can listen to our episode all about them back in the archives. Now, all of this seems to accumulate in disaster. In fact, a specific disaster, the collapse of the Silver Bridge, also known as the Point Pleasant Bridge. And I don't want to shock anybody, but that's in Point Pleasant. And the bridge collapse was a very real disaster in which 46 people lost their lives, all caused by a tiny hairline fracture in one of the bridge's eye bars.
Oh, God. Like, really? That's what caused that. I remember that from a movie about the Mothman. Was there a movie?
Yes, we'll talk about that.
Right,
yes,
yeah.
There was.
Yeah, I don't remember
We'll
anything about it, but a bridge collapse. Okay, so that was a real event. Wow.
Mm-hmm. And, people like to associate the Mothman with this. However, the sightings of Mothman appear to stop post-disaster. So is it the case that people were simply focused on the reality in front of them and not looking to the skies? Or, as John Keel would have us think, Mothman is some kind of harbinger of disaster and will appear in the lead up to a great tragedy to warn us and chase high school children. Just like Jimmy Savile.
Chris! Though, on the subject not of Jimmy Savile, but of the Mothman kind of being an omen, like in Thailand, if you see, a large owl, like if a large owl lands somewhere near you, that's also like an omen of something bad. And they do look quite similar with the eyes and the long feathery wings. So that's kind of cool.
Well, you may be beginning to craft a theory that we'll get on to later.
Okay.
So, maybe over in Thailand they know something that the people of Point Pleasant don't.
Mm-hmm.
but we shall get to that. I want to circle back for a moment, though, and talk about John Keel. So, John Keel was a UFOologist whose influence has been felt throughout the paranormal work. He, in fact, coined the phrase Men in Black in an article written in 1967, for example. His most famous work is the book The Mothman Prophecies, which, as the name implies, puts forth the theory of Mothman being prophetic of incoming disasters. It also has other details, such as that ultra-terrestrials, that is, beings from other dimensions, create visions of UFOs and creatures such as Mothmans, which serve as warnings or messages to us. The Mothman Prophecies was the movie that you referenced a few moments ago, Linz. It was turned into a movie in 2002 featuring Richard Gere in its lead. Have you seen it?
Oh God, like forever ago, all I remember is the bridge and like someone had an illness, and that's as far as my memory stretches on that.
Mm-hmm. It's a fun and an unusual little movie. It's I rewatched some clips of it on YouTube in the lead up to this, and it's a bit more Lynchian than I remember it.
Okay.
It's not a cash grab at all. It's definitely freaky stuff in some of the moments. And one of the most interesting and freakiest bits of the movie is another paranormal character that turns up. And this comes from the book itself, which is it's an interesting tidbit from the book, the connection of Mothman to another cryptid, Indrid Cold.
Oh, no.
Ever heard of this?
I've heard of Indrid Cold. Like, he's a humanoid kind of. He's like a man, right? I don't know what he does. But, like, I think there were some sightings of him. That's all I know. Like, he's been sighted. Connection with. I didn't know he had a connection with the Mothman. It's just something that, it's knowledge I have in there, and I don't know why.
Well, he is connected to the Mothman. Indrid Cold is also known as the Grinning Man.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
And he's thought to be directly connected to either aliens or the Men in Black, or, hey, why not both? He's hardcore. Linz, would you like to see a picture of this happy, clappy chappy?
Yes. Oh, God.
There you go.
Kind of like the Joker.
Yeah, swipe right on this guy.
I mean, I'd like to know his story. Yeah, we've got a pencil or graphite sketch of a guy. Slick back hair, dark slick back hair, white skin. Like a Joker grin, actually. Very unnerving. His eyes aren't smiling, but his mouth is. Put it that way. He's doing the Britney Spears. He's got a checkered shirt on and a black suit jacket. Yeah, he looks like a sort of 1950s, 1960s formal, casual guy, but he's got a very unnerving expression. And I imagine when you run into him, he doesn't say anything. He just smiles like that or something.
Well, he does communicate, but only telepathicly.
Oh God, that's even
that
worse.
Expression on his face the whole time.
Oh, that is awful.
Well,
God.
Mr. Cold was first spotted in October 1966, the month before Mothman incidents, but becomes connected to the Mothman a month later when he starts turning up in plaid during the plague on Point Pleasant.
In plaid?
Well, I mean, it's a checky shirt, but I needed another P.
Oh, okay.
It was for the rhythm. The rhythm of the rhythm. Woodrow Derenberger was driving home when suddenly he heard a giant crash. And then, as he stopped, a bizarre craft appeared in front of his windscreen, and out popped our cheeky chappy in the checks. That looks a little bit better. He spoke telepathically to Woodrow and told him not to be afraid. He just wanted to know more about the human race. He also stated that he was from the planet Lanulos in the Ganymedes galaxy. Woodrow would later write a book about this encounter in which he claimed that he visited said planet with Indrid Cold. Lovely romantic getaway. I hope they're very happy.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, okay.
I want to know more about the human race, Woodrow.
Teach me your ways.
Let me show you, Indrid.
We're just writing fanfics.
Then in walks Mothman, naked as the day before.
Well, I'm assuming he doesn't wear any clothes. Not to lead your mind down that particular path, Chris.
I mean, you've got to wear clothes simply for the purpose of ripping them off.
Oh my god!
Velcro the sides of them.
Like Kappa
like strippers
pants.
and pro wrestlers.
Papa pants.
Oh, they're coming back.
I know, I saw that. Kind of want the pink ones.
So, Woodrow claimed that cold was very much real and had indeed stayed on Earth. He chose to settle in Midway, West Virginia first, before then later relocating to Cleveland. Woodrow would often...
Sorry.
This is my favourite bit of this story. Woodrow would often forward letters from Cold to fans who would write to him and confess their belief in his story.
Come on. This is just too stupid.
So, real proof. It's like, look, thank you for believing in this story. Let me forward you on this letter that's definitely not in my left hand.
Exactly. That's so sad, actually. I mean, I'd love to receive a letter, but also the fact that he's clearly writing them out by himself.
There is one other report in Point Pleasant of seeing Indrid Cold, where he was spotted lurking over little children's beds, just like Jimmy Savile.
Stop.
Back to the man, the moth, the legend. Despite most famously being seen around Point Pleasant, it has also been sighted internationally.
What?
He was supposedly spotted at a mine in Germany, where he dive-bombed the miners, chasing them away from a mine that later collapsed that day.
So he is an angel.
Rumours also abound that he was seen around Chernobyl in the lead-up to that disaster, although, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, if we get into the, this is, right, this is where I'm going with it. We get to the predictable statement that he was there at 9/11.
I was just about to say, was he at 9/11, Chris?
Yes. Supposedly, but if he was, he didn't do a great job of warning people.
He didn't.
I think, obviously, as many things do, quite a broad statement this, it all comes down to belief. If you believe that Mothman is a real and benevolent creature, then sure, okay, Mothman was there in New York on that day. But if you think that this is a bunch of baloney, then this is all getting a bit silly now, isn't it? That we're getting into good guy Mothman saves lives. That's like,
that is Batman, kind of.
Movie 14 of Godzilla. He's done a face turn, and now he's saving the people.
I mean,
yeah, everyone knows him as a bad guy, but really, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he went through a rebrand.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like the original sketch you showed me, where he looked kind of scary but angelic. Oh, so but then if he's like some kind of prophecy, right? Like nothing happened to the kids in the car that he was chasing down and traumatizing, unless he got in the way of them, like sort of going on with the rest of their night, in which something could have happened, and then
Well, I do have a detail for you on that.
Okay.
So let's get into that then. So one thing that should be mentioned is that the TNT area where he was first spotted later turned out to be one of the most highly polluted areas of the USA, as chemicals from the unexploded bombs had been leaking into the nearby water supply. So could it have been that Mothman had been chasing away the kids from a fate worse than death? Or was he just chasing headlights?
You think this was like a promotional stunt? He had like TMZ. Well, I mean,
he'd make a great paparazzi, to be fair, if you can keep up with a 100-mile-an-hour car.
That's
Get all the best shots.
But the cameras weren't that great back then. So, I mean, if you could stay at a steady pace. But anyways, chemical spills, I mean, they kind of kill you over time. Well, I guess that's why I traumatized them. They'd probably move. But then you'd have to traumatize everyone who lived nearby.
That is true, but I don't know. I mean, maybe these kids were getting too close to the source. I don't know.
All right. Save the youth, let the old perish. You had a game plan.
Well, I mean, they were young married couples, Lens. They had all their lives ahead of them until they divorced. So anyway, let's get into some potential explanations. But first, Linz, what do you think? Mothman, real boy or fake boy?
I'd like to think this was real. But, I mean, birds can get pretty big. Not man big. Well, maybe some can, like... No, I mean, it's dumb. Maybe they were exaggerating how big it was, and it was just like a kind of big bird.
It was dark.
Was dark. I don't know. Images in the rear view mirror appear bigger than they seem. I don't know.
Wow,
I feel
true.
I feel like I really want to believe. I'm doing a Chris here. I want to believe because it's just so fun that there's like a naked angel man with an alien grey face flying around during like a day before a terrible event, but he can't really communicate properly, so he just sort of chases people down and they don't know why. They're just like, ah, but he can't speak like whatever language. He can't speak any human language, so he can't be like, oh, by the way, at this time tomorrow there's going to be some kind of terrible incident, you should get out of here. All he knows how to do is just terrify people and hope that it works. So I mean, I kind of like it. Maybe he's like a leftover alien that they just forgot to take back on the ship, and he's like, well, I got to make myself useful. I don't know. What do you think, Chris? I'd like to know what you think. You've done the research.
I thought there was a lot more to this, if I'm honest.
Uh-huh.
He's a biggie in the cryptid world, is Mothman.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone's heard of him. You know, movies, kids' TV shows. There's all sorts, Abba. But I just thought there'd be a little bit more to it than Mothman lurks on a hill.
Is there not more? Is this all there is?
This pretty much.
Wow.
I mean,
okay.
Yeah, at least in the main Mothman timeline.
Right.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure that certain other people that we may know may be able to pull out a lot more examples of where he's appeared and this, that, and the other. But from the main story, the headlines of who is Mothman, this is pretty much it. He scares some people. And I think the only reason why this might be such a big story is marketing. Point Pleasant loves this thing. There's Mothman Day. They have movie festivals, I do believe.
They have Mothman Day.
There's statues. They do.
Okay.
Well, all of Mothman's fans all around the world come along to be disappointed.
I mean, I would go.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, I would go as well. But they, I think this is a very good marketing ploy, really. I think the fact that John Keel was the one who did the investigation into Mothman, literally wrote the book on him, I think that really helps this as well. This is something that I expected to be like, whoa, there's going to be loads of like really cool evidence on this, and actually it's just some teenagers getting chased. It's pretty much the setup for a Scooby-Doo episode.
I mean, I guess maybe we need to read the book. Although, like he said, he's kind of got a bit of motive to write whatever in his... I don't know. Maybe there is more. Maybe it's in this guy's books. I don't know. But you're right. It does draw in a lot of tourists, and a lot of people otherwise would never have heard of this place, probably, or it wouldn't be as popular as it is. I wonder if we have any listeners from there who can give us some input.
Oh, I'd love to hear from you. If you're from Point Pleasant and if you're sat there raging right now going, God damn it, Chris, you just don't know the truth about Mothman. Well, fill me in. let me know.
Yeah. I'd love to hear
I'm
from people
ready.
who live there. I wonder if we have anyone who lives there listening. That would be amazing.
How weird would it be if you were from Point Pleasant and you didn't know anything about this?
Oh, they have to know. There's no way you could not know.
Yeah, that's impossible. But I would like to explore some possibilities here, as we generally do whenever we have an unexplained creature on the podcast. Then we look into things. So the first thing that we can suggest is the most obvious answer as presented: Mothman is real.
The end.
Yes, case closed. Is this likely? Probably not in the form that it's been presented here as some sort of harbinger, of
doom,
destruction, a warning, But is it crazy to think that there could be a large creature that lives out there in the wilderness in these rural areas? No. That is far more believable when you describe it that way. But the last time a large creature was thought to be found was the Tasmanian tiger, or rather found to be still alive, as far as I'm aware, anyway. But new species are discovered every day, but they tend to be insects, variations on existing things that are known, or they find, oh, actually, this is a different type of creature than we thought it would be. It belongs to a different family. Large creatures, not so much, because they have less places they can hide.
I mean, birds, though. You can get some massive owls, like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, so I feel like owl is a good kind of possibility, maybe.
It is. It is. We're going to get onto owls in a moment. But first, we're going to step back into another place.
Shut up, Linz.
Stop burying my lead.
Sorry.
The second is a paranormal explanation that even Mothman is a projection sent by aliens, ultra-terrestrials, and maybe even Indrid cold. Perhaps Mothman, much as we found out in our Bigfoot episode, much like we found out Bigfoot was in the Sasquatch episode, Mothman is an interdimensional being and can pass through and beyond the reality that we live in, perceive, and podcast in.
I do like the idea that they've kind of beamed a sort of hologram message, like a Princess Leia to Obi-Wan Kenobi, to sort of warn people.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only
Yeah,
hope.
exactly.
For some reason, I have a British accent in only this movie.
It's because it's all old-timey.
There are more terrestrial explanations for the Mothman, however. Dating back to the first sightings, police speculated that Mothman could be a sandhill crane.
Ooh, a crane. I didn't think about that. Yeah, absolutely massive.
Linz, say what you see.
Oh, I love cranes. I don't know if you know this about me. There's cranes where I live. They always go around in couples. This particular...
Why did you leave Wallsend?
This is a particularly scary. It's beautiful, but it's a bit demonic looking. So we've got a large white crane, beige crane with like brown tips on its feathers, and it's also got a sort of red mask on the front of its face and yellow glowing eyes, and that thing looks really big, even without anything even without banana for scale. That looks like a big boy. If that was chasing, but why would that be chasing your car?
Well, maybe you got too close to its eggs. That's generally why they chase you.
Yeah, but they're driving down the road, aren't they? Wasn't it a highway? No, it was like a road.
They got back onto the highway. They got off at the power plant, the abandoned power plant.
Yeah, I just find it weird that a crane would chase a car. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a crane at night, actually.
Well, I'm sure they exist.
They exist, but like I don't know what they do, but I've never seen one at night. I've always seen them in the day in pairs. I've never seen them at night, but they're all different, I suppose.
Well, these cranes are red-headed, gangly-legged, and flappy. These boys have a very gangly appearance
Mm-hmm.
and are well known to inhabit this particular area.
Oh, the
The
wings.
firemen who, yeah,
Uh-huh. The wings are
the
similar.
the the firemen who saw the second sighting after the famous encounter actually do describe it as some kind of bird with red eyes. From a distance, the red markings on its head could be mistaken for eyes. They do
Mm-hmm.
actually reach down at least to the eye. So it could be mistaken as having red eyes in the right conditions. Finally, Linz, and staying on a birdie theme, do you remember our episode on the Kelly Hopkinsville encounter, where a farmhouse was besieged by little green men? What theory was prevailed about what was actually fluttering around the farm that night?
Was that the owls?
That's right.
Right. Okay.
Uh,
That was the
the
owls. Yeah.
owls are not what they seem.
Mm-hmm.
So, once again, it has been suggested that Mothman is actually an owl.
Oh, right. Well,
Now,
I mean, it would be a gigantic owl. I know they get big, but they don't get man-sized. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely, but just
mm-hmm.
remember for a second that image that we saw of the angelic Mothman
Yes.
and compare it to this image of an owl.
Oh, he's kind of in turkey pose here. Yeah, he's got
Yeah,
the red eyes. But like there's like a sort of coloring around the eyes that if you squint, kind of looks like an alien grey. Yeah, the head. And in the
definitely. And
dark as
remember, if
well. Yeah.
there's a headlight reflecting off it as well.
Exactly. It probably appears a lot bigger when it's chasing you and you're
Mhm.
scared. You probably, sometimes you don't remember details. You just think, God, that's big. And then later, when you go to
Yeah,
describe it, you're like, oh, yeah, it was 7 foot tall. Maybe it wasn't.
yeah.
Maybe it was
And
just fear.
some of this, as well, it could have been in their heads as the actual chasing aspect. They could feel they were being chased. Maybe there was just loads of birds flying around and
Yeah.
they saw something. It doesn't necessarily mean that they were being chased by a giant man-sized moth.
I mean,
But
yeah, especially with the wing, when the wings are like
yeah,
at like full span, probably looks huge.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, in fact, there was an actual sketch which was done by the Skeptical Inquirer, which speculates how one could potentially confuse Mothman and an owl.
Oh, that is adorable. This is the Mothman that I'm used to seeing online. Like people make a lot of merch and he looks like this. It's so this is from the newspaper.
This is from the Skeptical Inquirer, which is not quite a
Ah,
newspaper.
oh, okay, okay. Um so we've got it's just like an owl with its little legs stretched out. And yeah, it looks like the initial drawing of the Mothman if someone tried to sort of fit the owl theory into it. And
Mm,
he's on a path, it's nighttime, the moon's behind him, there's a shed. Um yeah, he it's so cute though. It's just it's
mm.
just an owl with long legs and his wings all like ready to spread out, but not quite.
It would have to be a fleeting glance of this thing, though, and then
Yeah.
legging it.
Mhm.
Because, like owls are generally like, what, like toddler sized? There's
Yeah.
not too many 9-foot owls
Not
out
9
there that
foot,
this guy
no.
knows. No, the truth is out there.
Somewhere.
Finally, on owls, the last image I'm going to show you an owl today, I do promise. Um, some varieties do have eyes that reflect and will reflect red and can be absolutely terrifying if you're not expecting it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, this is another kind of illustration style that I see of the Mothman as well. The black silhouette with the red eyes. Oh, wow, that's
Hmm.
amazing. I love that actually.
But that's an actual photograph. That
Yeah.
isn't an
Yeah, yeah,
illustration.
yeah.
That
So
one.
we've got a
Um,
photograph of the silhouette of an owl in a tree and just two red dots staring into the camera. It's actually really cool.
I mean, don't tell me you wouldn't shit your pants and cause an international hubbub so large that Even the boys in Vietnam find out about it if you saw that.
I
thing.
can't believe they sent that out to Vietnam, like as if they didn't have enough problems. They're like, oh no, back home's plagued with
What are we
Yeah,
fighting for? We should be back home fighting those Mothmen.
exactly. Oh God. Yeah.
So, Linz, as we reach our conclusion on this episode, that was the tale of the Mothman, warner of impending doom, or simply a boy that hoots. What say you?
I think a couple of teenagers who had been watching Batman too much and got wrapped up in it and saw a massive owl. I'm going to say that. Yeah. I don't know much about the sightings at the bridge and 9/11, but yeah, I think the initial sighting may be a case of mistaken identity. Maybe a big owly guy and headlights reflecting in his eyes and him just looking a bit more scary than he is, maybe.
When we talk about the bridge, though, and the bridge collapse, these are all things that fit nicely into the narrative, but there's no first-hand report of anyone seeing Mothman on the bridge.
Oh, there isn't?
These are all...
Okay.
These are all... well, not that I came across anyway. These are all sort of conflated together with movies, Mothman Prophecy, people say later on. It's connected to the bridge, but more in a very general... Oh, that's what he was warning us about.
Yeah, afterwards it's easy to kind of shoehorn it in. I went to the spiritualist church, remember, Chris? And they're like, oh, well, you know what I said right now? Hold on to this information for the rest of your foreseeable life and try and fit that in somewhere. So it's kind of like that. I would like to know more about what was his name? Indrid Cold?
Indrid Cold, yes.
I'd like to know more about him in the future.
Well, Woodrow did write a book all about it, but yeah.
Well, I hope it's on Spotify audiobooks. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think it is. On that note, Linz, that is the story of the Mothman. I think we're both in the same camp on this one, which doesn't always happen. That, fortunately, the Mothman probably isn't real, but we do have an expert lined up that we will be speaking to at some point in the very near future.
Yes, an interview.
Who may be able to convince us otherwise. I'm not buying the Mothman, but my mind is certainly open to be convinced if there's better evidence that can be shown to me.
All right. Well, I'll let him know, and we'll see what he thinks about this Mothman business. Well, thank you so much, Chris. This was awesome. I've always wanted to know more about Mothman. I didn't realize it was as simple as that. Maybe it's because of all the movies and the hype and everything, I suppose you could say the same about Bigfoot, Loch Ness, There isn't much to it, but maybe that's what makes it so big. Everyone can just relate to it. Like a thing was sin and everyone talks about it and had some kind of opinion. So yeah, I suppose it's much like the others in that way.
It is, but I think the difference between Mothman and the Denver Demon is a great marketing department.
Yes,
the Denver Demon? No, not the Den. What was it? The Dover Demon.
The Dover Demon definitely needs a bit more love, honestly.
Yeah, I mean the PR team for Mothman, A++.
A+.
For the Dover Demon, maybe needs to spend some money to make some money.
Yep.
Well, Linz, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you.
As I regaled you with this story about Mothman, but I'm looking forward to next time where you'll be regaling us with your story.
Oh, yes, I will.
So stay tuned for that. Make sure if you're a Patreon member that you go over and check our Patreon, and you'll be finding very, very soon a new episode over there. And this is going to be coming out on the Monday, which is actually a bank holiday here in the UK. I will have just had a birthday. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, it was Chris's birthday, don't worry. You can still send money.
You can PayPal Chris.
Just sign up to
buy him some coffees.
Sign up to the Patreon like 25 times. And then, cancel after a month. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Buy Chris a coffee. Or some Bigfoot erotica for his Kindle. whatever he does at home.
No. No more of that.
Thank you so much, Chris. And
You're welcome. And
I was going to say bye, everyone.
let's go with that. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Shadows creep, the city sleeps. Enter the night, where terror seeps. Mothman's here, his presence clear, a legend born, a being feared. In the darkness, his eyes aglow, silent whispers. The stories grow, he's always watching. Never see mysterious figure. The Mothman's key. He soars above, his wings unfurl, the watchful guardian of this cool world. With every step, we feel his might in the dead of night. He takes his flight.
Could it be that Mothman had been chasing away the kids from a face worse than death?
A face?
That's my list.